Hello again. I'm still Claire, and I just did a performance which hopefully you've had a chance to see and enjoy already. Performance/presence exercise with my Shruti. And now I'm actually going to break it down a little bit into sort of more manageable bite sizes. The way we're going to break it down is I'm going to actually do vowel sounds with you. My suggestion is that perhaps listen the first time, and then I'll do it a couple of times, maybe 3 altogether, and join in on the second and the third time. Don't feel like you have to do exactly what I'm doing, but listen for the quality, and whilst you're doing it, and this is the good part, you get to feel where you're experiencing that sound in your body and how you're experiencing that sound, because the different vowel sounds, which are R, A, E, I, O, U, are the ones I'm playing with anyway, which have some kind of relationship to Sanskrit, which you can also find out more about, I'm sure. But they're primary, basic, primordial sounds. So now I'll just begin with R and see where you feel it in your body. You might notice me, like my hands going to a place because I can't really help it. It's just sort of natural at this point. But you may feel it somewhere else in your body, and that's absolutely fine. So the way you do it is you draw a breath in through your nose, and then you breathe out. And as you breathe out, you let the sound out. And each time you do it, you'll probably find that it builds a little. From a singing perspective, your diaphragm is down here. Well, actually, it's about here. And that's the piece. You want to really try and breathe out from your belly to give yourself a maximum sense of grounding. And these different exercises alter your state of consciousness. So whichever one you like for a particular thing, that can be your go-to thing. So I might run through them afterwards when you've had a chance to have your own experience. I will tell you where I feel these things. Okay, so the first one is R. And now join me, breathing in. And the third one, breathing in and then hold it at the top and then breathe out. Okay, so just notice the sense of space around your body. Notice if your aura has started to play a little, dance a little, change density, perhaps change color if you see in that way. What I notice with that is that each time I go to it, it gets wider and fatter. And so there's kind of a solidity that comes with that I really enjoy. And where I feel it is here in my belly. So there's something very reassuring about that sound. So now we're moving on to A. And again, I have a really long breath because I've been doing this a long time. So don't feel like you're doing it wrong or not doing it well enough if you run out of breath before I do. If you choose to keep practicing this, your breath extension will increase anyway. And that's not even the goal. The goal is simply to feel how you shift, how your state of being shifts, how your emotional state shifts, how your aura changes when you use these different ones. Okay, so now we're going to do A, and it's spelled A-Y in my imagination. You can spell it how you like, okay? 3 times. So breathing in. Breathing in. Clear your throat if you need to. Don't worry if your voice wobbles a bit. Don't worry if the note isn't like perfect. If you care about that though, something that I do, like, especially if I'm like teaching somebody directly, is I ask you to imagine that you're a ball, like a sphere, traveling through a tunnel that's just a little bit bigger than you. So if that was the tunnel, the ball would be about this big. And what you're trying to do is not have it hit any of the edges of the tunnel. That may work for you, it may not. So give it a go if you want to experiment with that, just in terms of pitch. So that's R-A. So now we go to E. And this, you may notice I do, that this has a sort of kind of a different vibe altogether. So I'll tell you when I use this one afterwards. Breathing in. That's quite long. Second one, breathing in. And last one. For me, E, I sometimes call it piggy face, especially if I'm working with a group of people, because it makes everyone laugh. So basically, we might just do it one more time, just once, because now I'm going to explain something. But first, it's important to me that you have your own experience before I start putting in. It's like when you go and look at art, you don't want to read the artist's statement. You want to look at the art, then you read their statement. So this is a similar kind of way of thinking. Piggy face, which is like, we're going to just try it with a really scrunched up face. So obviously we're definitely not worried about looking attractive right now. That's off the table completely. But I want you to imagine, if you think of a drum kit, right? Trap set, drumming, and there's a hi-hat. And it's that lovely, like, sharp, bright sound, and it's a metal, right? For some reason, whenever I do this one, I'm imagining, and this is not a painful thing, miraculously in your imagination things don't have to hurt, right? But I imagine that this disc is passing through this upper part of my head, traveling towards you. And much like what I was saying about if you have a sphere in a tunnel and you're trying not to touch the edges, with this, you want to keep it parallel to the ground. And this is your imagination we're talking about, okay? So you have a wonderful imagination. So just use it here to imagine that disc is traveling straight. I can't really explain why that helps, but it seems to. So on the count of 3, we're going to do piggy face together. And I hope you do. Otherwise, I'm going to feel silly doing this on my own. All right. So 1, 2, 3. All right. I'm not going to say anything. Check in. How are you feeling in this part of your body and in this part of your body? All right, hopefully you might even be laughing. think of times when you're going into a meeting where you've started to take something far too seriously, where you feel foggy-headed, maybe you even have a hangover of some kind, or you're just sleepy and you've got to wake up really fast and get kind of alert. That one, piggy face, and also just E in general, like E, they're really brilliant for this part of your beingness. So, you know, some are much more to do with the emotions. This one, I feel, has to do a lot with mental clarity. So just try it. And if you find different things work for different reasons than I'm saying, brilliant. Just go for it. So R-A-E-I. Okay, I. All right, we'll do I now. So breathing in. And you're going to start noticing, by the way, that they're beginning to blend, and they will. And at the end, we're going to do them all together, and you'll see how we do that. And something clever happens when we do that. It's fun. Breathing in. Notice your energy field. Is it dancing? Is it resting? Third and final on I. Breathing in. Just paying attention, checking in with yourself. Where are you feeling this? How is your thinking, feeling, sensing? Okay. All right, next one. O is the next one, which in my mind I spell O-H, just to give you that guidance. So 3 O's. Breathing in. Breathing in. Clear your throat when you need to. So the third and final O, O-H, O, okay? Breathing in. So just check in with yourself, like how does that feel? Where do you feel it? These are the standard questions, brilliant, easy questions you can ask yourself. And you can always, by the way, play with dynamics. So you can like attack it more, or you could be really soft. And a beautiful way to play with that idea is you could play with somebody in terms of play singing, and you can try and communicate using one of these vowel sounds. You could try and communicate an experience that you had using no other words at all. But you'll tell them a story through this sound and the expression of the sound. And a scenario, for instance, could be that you were putting your child to bed and it was really quiet and you just felt so full of love and so grateful for everything you have. And another scene could be with the same child, that there's an anxiety because this child's about to run across the road and it hasn't looked. He or she hasn't looked left or right, and you have a mini heart attack on the spot. And so you're going to express something to make that child stop, to keep it safe. So you can imagine that's going to be a very different way of expressing the sound. Using, again, as I've mentioned before, your imagination. You could do a lot to adapt and learn from your own capacity to sound things out. So the final vowel sound is oo. Is that right? I-O, yes, oo. So oo, o, 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 o to infinity. So breathing in. Notice your energy field and breathe in. And last one, breathing in. So congratulate yourself for going through all of those. And you can come back to them any time at all. And you can do them really quietly too. So maybe you can't get to sleep. You could actually try that. And I was on train the other day, and there was a man across the other side of the aisle. It's not a big train. It's BART, for those of you who are familiar with BART. And there was this man having such an agitated conversation on the phone for the whole ride. And I noticed my energy field beginning to pick up his stress, and he was swearing a lot, and he was obviously very upset in this conversation. And I thought, okay, what can I do? Because I don't want this. I don't want to inherit this. And I just started singing. But I did it quietly, but nonetheless, it was audible. But I just thought, I need to tend to myself. And you can do that too. It did, and it worked, by the way, because it just changes your vibration. It is vibration, so it's natural that anything you do with vibration is going to shift your vibration. And it's weird, you know, because it left room for him to be having the experience he apparently needed to be having. Because prior to that, I was so wanting to go over there and say, I don't want to hear this. I don't want to feel your distress. And of course, that you can imagine where that would have gone. So to have this other option to self-medicate sounds a bit intense, but to master the personal environment through the use of sound in subtle ways and less subtle ways, you know, depending on your context, I highly encourage it. So the very last thing we're going to do in terms of the singingness of this segment is we're actually going to blend all those vowel sounds together. And just, if it doesn't happen for you this time, I promise you, if you play with this long enough, you will probably start to experience this. And this is the realm of harmonics. So I'm going to do it a few times. And this is actually what the vowels want to do. It's really quite hard to make them so distinct as we're doing. But when we run them together, it's really cool, because you start to feel these harmonics. And harmonics they're a natural phenomena in the whole of the universe is based on harmonic ratios. So you've got music of the spheres, our bodies have the same ratios. Trees, plants, leaves, everything is kind of bicycles. Things are built on common mathematical, musical ratio principles. It's not as complicated as I just made it sound, but there's a lot of information there. So we're going to do 3 all the way through, okay? And just notice, remember to sit up as much as you can. Let the small of your back arch a little bit. Push your diaphragm, your tummy forward a little bit. And go inside the note. Don't perform it from outside, but go literally inside the center of the note and travel there with it. See where you go, okay? So breathing in. And it kind of stretches, it's very elastic, and it's sort of almost like taffy, before it gets too hard. And you can just stretch it and stretch it. And your mouth will change shape. Your tongue, by the way, will naturally do what it needs to do to generate these particular sound shapes. So you don't have to think about where to place your tongue. But play with the shape of your mouth. Let your jaw drop sometimes, make sure you're not tensing up. Do things like this. Do things like this. Make yourself smile. Okay, so we're doing the second one now. Breathing in. Notice how you feel, notice how your field is changing. Notice how your sense of self in space is changing. And we'll do one final one together. Breathing in. And just express gratitude for your life, for this moment that we're sharing together, for your body, for the fact that you can create all these different sounds. Wherever you may have limitation around some of the examples I've shared with you, don't worry, just adapt whatever you need to adapt and have your own experience, because that's really the point of all of this, is to use sound as a way to connect authentically and with personal passion. On any level of dynamic. So it could be gentle, it could be excited. It's whatever's true for you. And when you meet your interior self with the sound that is there at the beginning of connecting in this way, in any time that you pick this up, this practice, you alchemize that state. The good news is you alchemize a good space into an even better space, and you can alchemize sadness into empathy, and you can alchemize grief into sorrow, into softness, into self-holding. You can use your own sense of guidance to adapt these ideas. And there's one final piece which I'm going to share with you because it's kind of fun and it works. And this has to do with sex. When you are engaging, whether you're on your own or with a partner or partners, plural, if you are finding that you're in your head and you're not having access to that free flow of energy for an orgasm, no matter how hard you're trying different methods, if you, and I absolutely swear this works, if you allow yourself, your body sound to start to express itself, and it could be a hum, it could be a growl, it could be literally singing, like a tone. So, for instance, like that low thing, or it might be, so you can play like that sound when you're tuning a radio, the old-fashioned radio, where you tune and it does that wibbly wobbly sound. You can, it's totally your body, that's the thing. I can't tell you what the right sound is. And obviously I'm not going to demonstrate that full on right now, but I can tell you that because your body was grown through sound, Like when you were in your mother's womb, there was sound traveling through her system, through bone conduction, down her spine and feeding you as a fetus. And that's how you grew. So your body is used to the prompts of sound. And it knows them well, it knows them better than our mind does. And allowing your body, just experiment, you know, and maybe it is easier to do that on your own if you feel self-conscious or shy in that way. But just experiment with different sounds, different tones. You know, don't think of it as singing. Don't think of it for sure as performing, but think of it as you kind of mining, like you're going inside yourself to meet that part of you that's trying to come out and meet you. And you might wail. I mean, seriously, you can do any kind of sound. And I just know from experience that different sounds work. So it's not like there's one sound and that's the only one that works. It's entirely based on the mood of the moment, your mood, the conditions of the environment, your state of emotional comfortability, like all of these different pieces come into it. So all I can do is encourage you to claim that space, claim your vibrancy through the use of sound, and it will make a difference in your life. And I'm really glad to be able to share these pieces with you, and I hope I get to meet you at some point in the future, in the near future. Thank you very much.